right, give me 1 second here, folks. Maybe more than that. Instagram is not cooperating. Maybe we won't be on Instagram tonight. Don't know. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for joining us here, Explore the Force, Acolyte After Hours. So we're going to go ahead and dive into episode 4, but I will not be doing it myself. I've got 2 really awesome guests here, people you've seen before. We've had them on for the Bad Batch and some other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on in. First, we've got Jedi Lex. Lex, how are you?
I'm good. How about you? Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we've got Alina, also at the Phantom
Hi.
Meat Pace. She's back, folks. So how are you, Alina?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. First off, welcome. Thanks you both for coming back on the show and talking some Star Wars with us. I want to give you guys both a chance to talk about, like, what you do on social media, what you do with Star Wars. So Lex, I'll let you go ahead and jump into that first, and then Alina, you can go next.
So I am pretty much either Jedi.Lex or Jedi_Lex on pretty much every social media platform, but I kind of just do everything, all things Star Wars, unboxing videos, conventions. I will be doing my reaction video after I hop off here. So, all the good stuff, but just try to keep it light and fun.
Very cool. And I think we're going to be chatting tomorrow again, aren't we?
We are indeed. Can't get enough of it.
So, and Alina, how about you, Alina? What are you up to? What do you do for Star Wars?
Yeah, so my profile is at the Phantom Memes on Instagram, only on Instagram. I post a variety of content. I love collaborating with people, spinning lightsabers. Yeah, I just love sharing my love for Star Wars with everyone. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. So I haven't got to talk to you guys like directly prior to this, but Alina, how are you feeling about the Acolyte overall? Because I don't know if you know this or not, but it's been kind of upsetting some people. So how are you feeling about the show? We're 4 episodes in, we're at the halfway mark. Not necessarily about tonight's episode because we're going to dive into that, but how are you feeling about the Acolyte overall as a show?
So far, I'm loving it. I was really excited to see the High Republic, like this era of Star Wars on screen because we haven't seen that yet. And so far, I literally posted a reel about this a few days ago, and people were hating on it. But I'm just gonna say I am like very passionate about this, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. The first 2 episodes I loved. Third one I had my doubts, but this one was really good. So we're on the right track, I think so. But I'm really excited. Yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Lex, what about you?
I feel like I'm one of the few that is thoroughly enjoying the series. I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes that we got. I really enjoyed this episode. I know that last week's episode really caused a, guess you could say, for lack of better words, a disturbance in the Force for a multitude of reasons. It really divided the fandom, and it's kind of unfortunate because we saw this with episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Nilda at Nilda Listens or Appetite for Collectibles kind of brought up a very good point, is we had a similar amount of hate coming from episode 1 towards actors like Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best and things like that, and pretty much almost led them to end their lives. And I feel like the hate that we're getting for Acolyte is like much more extreme, and it's okay to have your opinions. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but there's just a factor of respect and just a love for Star Wars that I think we need to be kind of just like peaceful about it. There doesn't need to be hate. You don't need to hate on someone else for liking it. You don't need to hate on someone else for not liking it. You should just be respectful of people's opinions. But so far, to answer your question, I'm really enjoying it. I thought this episode was great. We're finally getting somewhere. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I said this on a couple shows. After the first 2 episodes aired, I was, we did our show, and I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I'm sitting there and I'm on the couch and I'm reading, and I'm just like, my whole personality just changed. My wife's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I'm just reading all these comments from all these people, and I understand not liking stuff. Like, I get it. There's things not to like, but the way they're presenting themselves and the way the language and the things they're calling people, which just it bothers me. I'm loving this show. I'll be up front. There's a few things here and there that some of the dialogue, but that's Star Wars. It's almost a given unless it's
Yeah.
Andor. In For me, I've loved it. Episode 3 is like kind of my favorite one so far. I'm not sure why, but yeah. So that sounds great. It's awesome that we're all enjoying it. There are, like I said, we are being attacked on YouTube for being too positive before it started. So people were so angry that they're yelling at us because we're looking forward to the show, and I couldn't understand that very much. But let's go ahead. We're going to dive into tonight's episode 4, titled Day. So this is the second one we got with one title, written by Claire Keichel and Cor Adana. I think she was on the last episode as well. This is directed by Alex Garcia Lopez. And I have written down the first thing, shortest episode, but it had the most quotes, storylines. I mean, how are you guys feeling about episode 4? Alina, how are you feeling about episode 4?
It was so good. I was watching it and I was like, I could not take my eyes off the screen. I was having so much fun with it. So many details, the sets, the scenes. Oh my God, it was so pretty. But yeah, like so much stuff to unpack here. It was crazy.
Lex, what about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think I like took my eyes off the screen, which is always difficult because I feel like I'm always peeking at my phone, but I kind of didn't, and I was pleasantly surprised by the ending and where that was kind of headed. At first I was a little skeptical, but the last few minutes I was like, "Oh shit," like here we go. So, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm actually looking for. We talk about this every time we do these episodes. Like, so it aired 15 minutes ago, and we're on here trying to remember things. So people, you have to forgive us if we don't remember everything or we say something out of order. We've all watched it once, just like everyone else. It's not like we sat down. Like tomorrow, Lex and I will probably be a little bit better when we're on Brandon's show. But today's kind of like our raw emotions and how we're feeling with it, which I kind of like. I had the same thing written down. I put Kofar is beautiful. Do we know an actual physical place in the world that Kofar is? Do we know where they're filming this?
I was literally searching that up while I was watching, and I don't know. Yeah, I was like,
Wales or something like that, but I don't know if that's true or not. But it's beautiful. Like all the scenes they kept showing. And then, of course, do they all open up on planets like this? Is that how they've all opened? I was trying to think because it's like I know episode 3 kind of comes up over the hills. This one comes there. They're all kind of opening on the space that they're going to be spending the most time in. But yeah, I love this episode. I thought it was great. I think I need another rewatch because there's so many This is probably the most quotable Star Wars show with some of the stuff that they've said. But we go in with the first thing we see Kalnaka. He's back in his robes. He walks in there and I thought I saw a yin and a yang kind of artwork. You saw that different artwork, and I was kind of right in that. And then, of course, we saw the symbol of the witches of the thread, I guess is what we're calling them, witches of the thread. What do you guys think about that? Kalneka is off the radar. He was sent there, so that changes a little bit of the talk because everyone, at least we thought that he kind of fled, and he was like exiled himself. But now we know he was sent to Kofar, but he willingly went into the woods and is not responding. But what do you guys think about like just seeing him like in the solitude? Did it make you feel sorry for him? I mean, how are we feeling?
I mean, it kind of reminded me of what like Torben's kind of doing. Like instead of Torben kind of like just exiling himself in the woods, he kind of just exiled himself like within the Force almost. So I feel that's like Kalnaka's way of kind of doing it. I mean, I feel like a Wookiee being in the woods isn't like so out of pocket, but there's clearly a reason that he's in the woods for whatever happened on oh my god, what's their like home planet name? Yeah, so like something clearly happened there that he's in on and that Torben was in on and the other. So I mean, I get his exile, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely felt for him, but I wanted to see more of him. I feel like that kind of got cut very short.
Yes,
like a pun.
Very, very bummed about how the next time we see him. What about you, Alina?
Yeah, I was definitely wondering about that because he was ignoring all of the Jedi were sending like transmissions and he was not responding, ignoring them, and I'm just really confused as to why that was happening because same thing with Torben, yeah. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I think we flash forward real quick too. Because all three of us sounds like we're like, why is he here? It does change. I think it changes a smidge that they sent him to that planet, but he did go exile himself nonetheless. But Master Soul tells Osha that we're going to collect May, we're going to go back on the ship, and we're all going to get right. Does that mean that most of us were right and we're thinking that episode 3 was just one side of what actually happened? Do we think that is that what he's talking about? Like he's going to be like, hey, this is what really went down inside that compound? Or do you think he had something else? I don't want to jump all the way to the end, but I was kind of like, oh, what's he mean by that? So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, could there be a chance that Soul doesn't know? Because he was talking, sorry, I forgot the Jedi's name, the green one. He was talking to her about like not knowing anything and he was
Yes.
very truthful about it. And I'm just kind of, I mean, maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't know. So there's definitely another story in there somewhere.
I am Team Soul. I feel like there's a lot of Soul haters out there that are saying Soul is sus. I'm a Soul lover. I don't think that Soul knows exactly what happened. I don't think he was privy to it. He was clearly there, but it just seems like kind of his comments and his demeanor towards it is that like I feel like he really tried to save May and was like shocked that she was alive. Like he was like, there's no way she survived. So I don't know. I kind of just feel like Soul wasn't in on the bigger picture because clearly something else happened. Yes, there was the fire that May set, but it certainly did not kill all those witches. They weren't
Yeah.
burned. There wasn't anything that like kind of signified that they were killed. So I think something went down. Do I think Soul was involved? No, but there is a great amount of people that do think Soul was in on it and he's behind it. But I did think it was interesting where he was kind of at the end, he was talking to May. He was like, when we get back, I'm going to tell you everything that
yeah.
happened. And I was like, well, it makes me think we're not going to get back to the ship, you know? Like he's going to die or something.
Oh my.
So
Yikes. Yeah. Oof. All right. Yeah. So yeah, of course we just jumped to the
we're
bar.
jumping all over.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what happens in this show. But yeah, I think like and that was the big discussion last week and up till tonight was, you know, what did happen. There's no way that was it. Like they're all laying there, they're not sliced up. And this is like kind of the first time, spoiler alert, that when they find Kalneka, he actually has like a gash across him because usually, I mean, one of my slights on Kenobi was like he's bouncing his lightsaber off of stormtroopers.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's not how are supposed to work. But so I thought that was something. But we'll go back to where we left off, and I have in my notes the Ginger Jedi was a pretty awesome scene. You got that redheaded, and I, oh no, there was a white man in the episode, so I guess Disney's not ruining Star Wars after all for all the haters out there. But just it boggles my mind that people. Well, anyways, I don't want to get into that. But I put down the Ginger Jedi, which is awesome because I have a nephew who's a redhead, so maybe he has a new hero now. Hopefully, we get a name for that guy. But the fight scene, getting to see Coruscant, getting to see Padawan's training, and then of course we go in and Jackie and Osha have a pretty nice conversation. Like it's like they've been friends for a long time or something. I really like that. What did you guys think of that scene? And also the fact that she was going to sneak off without saying goodbye to Master Soul.
So I love Jackie, but so Amandla, she's the actress that plays May slash Osha. I
Yeah.
personally like her like portrayal of May better than Osha. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. I just feel like sometimes when she's talking, I don't know, I'm just not getting that connection. So for that specific scene, I was definitely feeling it, but everywhere else I was kind of like, oh, okay, okay. But that scene, yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that Jackie was like comfortable with her and talking to her, and I really liked Jackie, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah, Jackie. I was glad to see Jackie get some more time on screen. What about you, Lex?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Jackie fan. I feel like ever since she made that comment, like, you're put your clothes
Put your
on.
clothes
I
on.
was like a fan of hers, and it just kind of seems like as we progress, she's very wise for her age, it seems. So like even as a young Jedi, I feel like she really has those traits of Soul. I do think it's interesting that she asked and was like, "You're not gonna say bye to Soul," and she was like, "No," and Jackie was like, "Okay," but Soul ended up catching her before she left. I don't know. I don't know if I feel any type of way about it, but I don't know. I kind of expected Osha to just kind of wander off. It seems like that's her prerogative. But then
Yeah.
Soul was kind of like, well, I need you to come on this mission, or neither of us are going to be able to go.
Yeah, he's kind of using her a little bit, isn't he? Like
It definitely is.
he was gonna let her go, and then he's like, "Oh no, I need you this time."
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit shady on Soul's part. So kind of goes back to him lurking in the woods in episode 3, and then we'll find out, what he does or doesn't know, or if he doesn't make it back. But yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. I like, the only thing I really ever seen Daphne Keenan, the actress or the actor that plays Jackie, was when she was a little kid and she was X-23, and was it Old Man Logan or whatever, or Logan? I
Yep.
don't know, Old Man. And she
Yeah, I
was
think it was
awesome.
Logan.
But I mean, that's the only thing I've really seen her in. But she was pretty cool. I really liked her character, and I think it was Jack who thinks that she could be like the next Ahsoka, like the next like character that people really really love, because she's wise. She's kind of got a quip about her, and she's a little snarky, and give fans someone to really kind of attach to. I've enjoyed her so far, and then we get into what we got, and then of course, Chimera and May fly down. Now, this is one of the things I've had about this show is the ships look a little wonky to me. I haven't been a fan of the
Really?
ship. I don't like those Jedi crew. I don't. It just doesn't feel like. I know we're branching because I'm a big High Republic fan, and I like those ships, and I've had some of the artwork. And then I know we have in the Phantom Menace. I don't know, and it's 100 years, so things change a lot in 100 years. But I just haven't been a super fan of those. I thought that ship landing with Chimera and May looked kind of fake, like the special effects wasn't great. But that beside the point, they get out, and of course, he's almost like Jar Jar Binks esque, where he's falling all over himself and doing things. Are they working too hard to make us think he's nobody? Because now I think I'm not going to jump
Yeah,
to the, but
definitely.
I feel like they're working very hard to make us think he's nobody. So, Alina, you agree? Lex, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first episode that we really like are privy to him, I think was like episode 2, and we're like, oh, this is just like a drunk, like nobody, blah blah blah. And then a lot of things started surfacing, like, oh, like it seems like, some of the comments that he made and like how he's referring to May's master, like maybe he is the guy behind the mask. And I was like, oh, I feel like that's such like a cheap shot. Like out of everybody you could have behind the mask, it's him. But I do think it's kind of interesting that he gets tied up and then all of a sudden the guy in the mask appears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what. Yeah, we'll get to that. Because I noticed something when he was going to get water.
Yeah.
So, but
He hurried off really aggressively. I'm just gonna
he
say.
did aggressively. Yes, he took a lot of stuff with him to go get water.
Yeah.
So
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think they're definitely trying very hard to give him that like clumsy drunk guy kind of aspect. Like he's just like I just don't think that he's along for the ride. Like I think he has a purpose that he's not really showing May, and he
yeah.
definitely was kind of like pushing her buttons a little bit. I felt like when they were
Oh
like
yeah, the
walking
first thing he
towards.
says is she failed so much.
Yeah,
How are you gonna do,
yeah,
and he's like just kind of digs at her without being a complete, jerk. He's a jerk about it, but he's kind of like a goofy Jar Jar-esque
Yeah.
kind of clumsy, lovable. I'm not really buying, especially after episode 2, whenever she comes at him with the dagger and he just handles her like nothing.
yep.
A drunk that doesn't really have any powers would probably have gotten skewered, I would think, by someone like as powerful as May. But um, then we get into the politics of the show, right? We got ourselves a Jedi Council. We have a Kiadi Mundi lookalike. I can't. Was it a Syrian? I think
Yeah,
is what they're called. So the big giant head.
big
Uh,
brain.
yeah, the big brain. Well, they have two. It's like two
They
brains
do
or
have
something.
two brains. Yeah.
What did you guys think of getting to see all those different kinds of Jedi? And then the conversation. They talk about a splinter order, which I thought that was kind of like I was like, "Ooh, what does that mean?" And then this is a subcommittee, so this sounds like it's like because they don't want to bother the High Council. So Vern's taken this, um, and she is not the same character. I don't know how much you guys have read of the High Republic, but this is not the Vernestra Rowe from those books. So I'm concerned for her in the books that are coming, because that series won't end until 2025. But if they're going to take the character that we have in the books and we're going to get her to this position, something has gone seriously wrong for her, because she's a completely different character in the books. But what did you guys think of getting to see all those Jedi? How do you feel about it being a subcommittee of Jedi, not the actual High Council? And it was a good way to keep Yaddle and Yoda and Oppo and all these other Jedi Masters that we want to see off the screen. So how do we feel about that?
I think it's a bit suspicious just how small and tight that group was. Especially when they were talking about, like the Jedi that are being targeted and them being scared about contacting the Senate. Well, I mean, yes, they have their reasons. They don't want there to be a panic or something like that. But I just still feel like with an issue of this importance, I feel like just the fact they're kind of keeping it small is a little bit strange. But I don't know. That's just me.
This is par for the course of you guys. I think we talked. You guys really haven't dove into the High Republic yet, but this is like this is one of my issues. People are complaining that this show is making the Jedi look bad, but I feel like the Jedi have made themselves look bad in almost everything that they do. Now they're still awesome, and I still like that their mission is one of of super importance, and they don't mean to do it, but they kind of make a lot of trouble for themselves.
Yeah.
By doing things like this, by not going out and like, hey, Matt, the High Council, the people who are above us that are have more wisdom and more experience. Like Vern's trying to hold on to it. I don't know. Seems a little weird to me, but it was. I think I did enjoy seeing a council of Jedi though. How cool was that? All
Yeah,
those different.
especially like a Coyote Mundi look-alike. We got like a Plo Koon look-alike.
Yeah, and you notice that thing they never mentioned it. They never
He's
said a
always
word about if that's Plo Koon,
always the
because
back.
yeah. And I thought maybe that was Kiadi Mundi at first, but I don't think it. I just think it's another Syrian. But that was pretty exciting. But Vernestra says something. They're having this chat. They're talking, and she says the master, like May, is only a small part of this plan. The master wants to tip the scale. And then, of course, we have the splinter order. What are they? Like, splinter order? Are we talking like of the Jedi, of the Sith? Like, what do we? Do you have any guesses? I guess. What do you think that one Jedi was talking about when May is trained by a splinter order? Because I have no idea, to be honest. So if you don't, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it definitely has to do with tipping the scales between like good and evil kind of thing. But maybe the splinter order kind of relates to the acolyte, maybe a little bit, like, cutting off. But I don't even know what to think of that. I feel like that was such like an off the cuff little comment that I low key, being honest, didn't even pick up on. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa,
I mean,
tipping the scales, like blah blah blah. I was like, oh shit. I didn't even hear splinter order, so I'm gonna have to go listen to that again.
Well, you, Alina.
yeah, literally me too. Like I was like too distracted by all the Jedi all over the place. I was like, whoa.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I think this episode, like we're sitting there watching it, and I've got a friend over. I actually made those noodles from starwars.com for tonight. We made those and those, but then we sat there, and luckily we had about 10 minutes to kind of unpack all that. But there's so much, like, you guys missed that. I'm sure I've missed stuff. This is going to need, luckily it's a very rewatchable episode, but there's so much going on in there. I'm excited to go back to it. And then we got them back on that planet on Kofar. That's when he takes in. They're talking about the test. You got to kill a Jedi without a weapon. That whole conversation is going on as they're walking into the woods. And even May's a little like apprehensive to go in the woods, and she's like, "Chimera, you went in here all by yourself and you found this Jedi?" Like, that also is a little suspicious, I think.
Yeah.
But and then May misses Osha. Now that she knows Osha's alive, that changes the change in her from that moment on, or even from episode 2. We haven't really seen her since episode 3, since episode 2. That big change in her, and of course, we're just going to jump to what she says. She goes, "My loyalty is to Osha, not to the master." How do you feel about that? And the fact that Osha seems to be going the other direction with wanting to be done with May. So, like, Osha's or May. Try to keep these two straight. May is super excited to see Osha and wants to be with her, like sisters again. And Osha's like, "Hey, Yord, you're a big jerk, but can you cut down my sister if she gets out of hand?" So, how do we feel about the direction that these two sisters are going with each other?
I feel like it's kind of the opposite of what they were like when they were younger, but still the same. Like May is very focused on being with her sister, but Osha's kind of focused on herself. And now here, May is focused on Osha, but now Osha is focused on like being a part of something, I guess, kind of sorta.
I think.
So that dynamic was interesting to me. But honestly, I like haven't really thought enough about this yet. So I'm like,
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like at least in episode 3, Osha and May have very different wants. Osha wants to be her
yeah,
own person. She wants to go off and be a Jedi, and like May's like, nope, like we're twins. We need to live the same life. We need to do the same things. Like this is what has to happen. And Osha's kind of like, well, I get that we're twins, but we don't have to live the same life. And then I think Osha has gone all these years, 16 something years, kind of just thinking that her sister is dead. So she's just been living her life, doing what she needs to do to survive, dropped out of the Jedi Order. So all these things I feel like have kind of happened to both of them separately. Like they've been living these separate lives. And now I feel
yeah,
like May still has that attachment to Osha that she had that we see in episode 3. But it seems like Osha is still kind of just on her own and wanting to do her own thing. So I think it was interesting kind of at the end where May was like, you know what? I don't have to do this. Osha being alive changes everything because we know May clearly has this like severe attachment to Osha and she's
yeah,
been thinking she's dead all this time and now she knows she's not. So she kind of feels this need to go. But then even when they get to Kalnaka's little hut or whatever, she just like stays inside. She doesn't even go out to like
Yeah, so
say
that was
anything.
weird.
And I'm like, you're on this mission, like I'm gonna go surrender to Kelnaka so I can talk to them, and then doesn't even like talk to them. So
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know. It was definitely weird.
weird too that she kind of hid away. Maybe she could sense. I mean, she does think that that the zipper face, Darth Zipper face, is there. Like Kylo Ren. I don't know what to call him. I think he is the acolyte, but maybe that's what did it. But we get some classic Star Wars lines. Also, Osha seemed disappointed whenever she wasn't getting back in the order or whatever, because like um, Soul's like, "Hey, I need you to come with me," and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna be a Jedi," and he's like, "No, you're gonna be. It's unofficial." And she was like disappointed. It's like she's she doesn't seem like she has a home. She probably hasn't felt that way since she left. But we get there's still good in her. I thought that was a classic Star Wars line. I can still there's still good in her. Um, and then this is where it just was like nonstop quotable Star Wars, stuff. We have Yord. I put Yord is still a butthead because he's so pompous. He's like, any questions, civilian? That gave me super Mace Windu vibes talking to Ahsoka in season 7 of Clone Wars when he's like, "You're not a Jedi anymore, right?" Kind of like
yeah.
just. And then he turns around and says something really clever. You're not here to face here. You're here to face yourself. And I was just like, oh man, like that was pretty deep. Coming from Yord, I wasn't. I was kind of surprised. So, what do you guys think
Mm.
about Yord? How do you feel about this character? Because he is kind of a pompous ass, and and he seems trigger happy with his lightsaber, but then he drops this knowledge, and of course, he speaks whatever Basil is, which we'll get to Basil here in a second.
If I may, my dad. So he saw the first 2 episodes with me. He hasn't seen the rest, but whenever he gets the opportunity, he's like, "Alina, don't be such a yord." If I'm like talking about like whatever, or like he's like, "Alina, you're such a yord," or something like that. So I don't know how I feel about yord, but yeah, he definitely is very wise in this episode. So he's definitely talking about a lot.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind Yord. He kind of gives me like Jar Jar vibes. Like he's just like the oddball that people like kind of have to put up with in a certain way. I feel like he's put there for a reason. I don't know what that full reason's gonna be. I don't mind him. I know a lot of people don't mind him, but I think him
yeah.
being like super trigger happy, like with the lightsaber, just having it out as like a glow stick, having it for this, give me the gun, like you can't have that. Like, is it really a good idea to give her? I think that that's kind of really more of a testament to like what the Jedi Order has become, like not just Yord. I think the Jedi Order itself has really shifted, and that's what we're kind of seeing with like politics and things like that. So I think Yord is kind of just a product of that kind of
Yeah.
situation. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting when Yord was like, "Yeah, I speak alien." And I was like, "What?" Like, okay, cool, like, pop off. But yeah, I mean, his little comments here and there, like, I feel like even the actor, I mean, aside from the other comment that he made in the interview, he was like, Yord is, Yord's meant to not be like such a like a profound character. Like he's meant to be there for a certain reason. So I feel like he's portraying Yord the way that he was meant to portray him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason they're having him portrayed this way, I think. And yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe he is supposed to be like a representative, like the craziness that is how stuffy because you see it in Vernestra. Again, I don't think she's the same character as she is in the books. You see how worried they are about politics. This is supposed to be the build up to all that. And they already seem like they're deep in, because every time they say in the name of the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order, they've said that like 3 or 4 times now throughout these episodes, maybe more. And it's always together as a group. Like they're already seem to be like locked in. Now it makes me wonder too, if like, Palpatine and Plagueis's plan is already in effect more so than what, maybe it's even more so than what the book Plagueis is doing. But anyways, yeah, Yord cracks me up, but he does speak Basil's language. And how do we feel? We got to do a little side note on this. So how do we feel about this guy? Right? This might be one of the cuter Star Wars characters that I've seen in a long time. I don't know. How do you guys feel about Basil?
I like him. I think he's cute. I mean, it's an interesting like kind of tracker, and I think it's cool that like Yord kind of understands him. But I mean, I think it sucks that Funko had to outright go kind of like spoil that little character. Um,
Definitely.
But I don't know. I thought it was cool to like actually finally see him. We knew he was coming, obviously, because we're getting a pop of him. But I thought it was cool to kind of like see the character. It was like I feel like they do a good job, at least in this series, with introducing like new aliens and creatures and things of that nature. So I've been a big fan of all the stuff that they've introduced. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, let's see some other creatures, but we've gotten a few prior ones, but we've also gotten new ones, and I've been a fan of both. So I don't know. I think Basil's kind of just like an add-on, so I like him.
Yeah. What about you, Elaine? Have you enjoyed all the aliens that we've seen? 'Cause I was just rewatching
Yeah.
the episodes.
I'm really huge on like props and like effects and all that, and just costuming, and just I really enjoy looking at different people wearing different like prosthetics and just acting out different. Like I just think it's really cool. And actually, side note, the actress that played Jackie, her eyebrows were completely like glued down by the what's it called, like the makeup. So obviously people were saying that she's very bland and she doesn't really use her eyes, but I honestly don't think that that's a problem for her. Like I feel like she's like able to Jesus, sorry.
I think people will pick at anything just to pick at it. I don't think that Jackie not moving her eyebrows is like a huge deal. Like I don't know. I just think people look at things to look at things.
But sorry, but Basil, I really like him. I think it was really funny how Yord was like, oh, like let's get the tracker, and I thought he was gonna like pull out like a mechanical thing, but no, like this little rodent comes out, and I was like really happy about that. I thought that was really
I thought it was a pretty cute, almost Ewok type character. What's up, Brennan? We'll see you tomorrow, my man. Thanks for hopping on.
We will.
But so then we get into the woods and those trees, and Basil's the one who kind of gives it away that something's wrong with that forest. And it does look creepy. Everyone, including May and Kyme, were like, we need to get in. We have 3 hours of daylight. We need to get in there before it gets dark. And then they go in there, and Osha kind of touches that. I was not sure what's going on with those trees, and turns in that big giant bug. And my wife goes, ah! And those things were kind of gnarly looking. I thought we were going to get more of them, but how did you feel about that whole vibe? It's like they step into that wood and that forest, and it just kind of goes dark, like the whole atmosphere. Because then you've got May finding Kalneka, you've got she sets up, she hangs Chimera upside down or whatever, and then I feel like the whole atmosphere just kind of changes with that scene. So how do you guys feel about that going into the woods? I felt like from that point on, it was like I felt very, very tense from that point moving forward till the end.
Do you want to start?
I just I feel like there was just definitely a sense of urgency from both sides because we see they're both coming into the forest from their separate angles, clearly. But even Chimera is like, we're 10 minutes, 10 minutes south, like we got to keep moving, and she's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, nope, we got to keep going, and then they clearly have this sense of urgency. Those centipede, caterpillar, butterfly, whatever they were, hated it. That was gross. I like gas. I was not ready for that. But I did think it was interesting that by kind of touching that animal creature thing, that Osha was like, I'm feeling the force. Like I can feel and I'm sensing certain things, but unfortunately, I'm only sensing death. Like once I sense something, death follows. And I was like, you know what? That's kind of interesting that she kind of feels that way. So I mean, even though I didn't enjoy seeing that creature, I thought it was interesting that Osha's kind of getting that force sensitivity back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about you, Alina?
So my problem with a lot of Star Wars content is that it's very predictable, but I feel like here I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't like, oh, this is definitely gonna happen. No, I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? And I mean, there were two outcomes, but none of them happened. Like something else completely different happened. So at that point, I was really into it. And to be honest, the bugs were really predictable. That was the one part that for some reason I was like, okay, they're gonna fly off, definitely. But it was still, I don't know, it was just also Jackie's like remark about Osha feeling the force. I was like, oh damn, like she's wise. She's like really getting deep here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was why, because like in episode 1, she can't even use the force to get Pip, but now she's feeling the creatures. And I know I didn't pick up on the part where she said that all she feels is like the death. But like I said, this was so much packed into this. I could have been writing notes or whatever. But is there a reason she's getting that back all of a sudden? Like, she's been around the Jedi. She knows her sister's alive. Like, she's getting her force powers back. I mean, I don't know if there's anything to that. And then, of course, like you said, Alina, Jackie drops some knowledge, and she's like, you're defined by what we survive. I thought that was pretty clever. And that's like real world, like you are, like, cancer survivor, whatever, victim of abuse, these things like that. I think this is a quote that people can latch onto, I think, in the real world and be able to move forward. It's like, we are what does she say? She says, you're defined by what we survive. I thought that was pretty powerful. And of course we get there and we see the scene that we've seen a bunch of times. How'd you feel about seeing, I'm gonna call him the Acolyte. I think I'll just come out and say I think it's Chimera. I think when he ran away to get water, he took a big bundle of stuff with him, which wasn't real clever. And then I thought that scene was real intense, and he's like walking up and how powerful he was. He flipped May out of the way, which I thought was pretty clever because they've kept that out of all the trailers. He had his flip of the wrist, and she was toast. And he levels all those other Jedi. So how are we feeling? And of course, I knew there was a cliffhanger coming because one of the friends of the show had seen all 4 episodes, and he's like, just be prepared. I'm not going to tell you what, but it just kind of ends. You're going to be like, what the hell? And literally, and I told my wife and I told my friend that was over there watching, is like, you're going to say, what the hell? And when it ends, I'm like, what the hell? So how'd you guys feel about that last scene? What'd you think about it? How do you, where are we going from there? And I have like one more question, then we'll be able to wrap this up.
So when the dark figure appeared, first of all, it was giving Dementor vibes because I feel like everything was like sucked out, like everything turned dark and everybody just stopped moving. And also it freaked me out a bit because I was like taking out laundry and I was like kind of eyeing it, and just like all of a sudden I just saw that and I was like, whoa. And personally, I've already read a bunch of theories about who that is. I don't know. Some people say it's Darth Plagueis's master. Some people are saying, yeah, it's like, yeah. So I'm not sure who that is, but I'm excited to see. And some person said it was Indira, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't vibe
so yeah.
that one. Master Indara, like,
Yeah.
Chimera. I've seen Mother Coral now that we've introduced to her last, and we don't see her body with the rest of the witches. What do you think, Lex? How'd you feel about that? Like when you see, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like
You're
he's
like
like
floating in.
Mentor was right, Aline. Like he comes like floating down quietly,
Yeah.
everything's dark, and I was like, I just got like goosebumps, but down, down my arms, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is creepy. And it's simple. It wasn't anything dramatic. It wasn't some kind of superhero landing. It was just slow, controlled. I thought it was pretty good storytelling. So how'd you feel about that?
I thought it was like very methodical the way that this like I don't even know if it's a guy, but like how they move. But yeah, we kind of just like see Osha. She's like looking towards the hut, but then in the background, you kind of just see the Sith like floating down, like so cool. And then all of a sudden, he like flicks Osha out of the way after he's like in her face. Doesn't say anything. I don't know. It's kind of giving like Kylo Ren with like grills a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this character. Like, I mean, there's a lot of theories that are playing out, but I feel like every time we as a fan base are like, oh, it's this person or it's this person, it ends up being absolutely nobody. So, like, with what happened with like Marak, we're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's Starkiller, it's Ezra, it's this, and it was an absolute Night Sister fart. So I don't want to like get too invested in who this could be. I'm open to certain things, but I've seen like Tenebris, I've seen it could be Plagueis, it could be all these people. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly who it could be. I think it's going to be interesting to find out. I wish he would have like said something, or
yeah,
because he talked in the first. It was the first episode
yep.
or the second episode. So he talked then. So I thought it was interesting. He didn't really talk, but I knew that was going to be a cliffhanger. I was like, we're not going to see the fight. Like we see him line up and then get like leveled, but then that was it. And I was like, oh, I want more. And I know I shouldn't, but
Oh no, it's fine to want more. I felt like Kylo went more. So I was kind of
yep.
fired up. Yeah, that was a great cliffhanger. It's going to be a long, like 7 days. I feel like six,
Yeah.
to get to that next episode. Um, so yeah, do you guys have any predictions? Because there's rumors that like maybe it's a voice modulator and we're gonna get Empress Nest. Someone's gonna pull off the helmet. It's gonna be like it's gonna be Coral, her mother, their mother, or it could be Chimera. I mean, who knows? Like you said, you're not gonna get hyped up because just because of Marak. We know it's not Barasafi, right? So that's good. But what do you guys feel about the episode? Like, where's it rank in the top? On these first four for you, and then we'll go ahead and we'll sign off. So
I don't think it was like my favorite of the four, but I've enjoyed every episode that we've gotten. So they've been like at least an 8 out of 10, I feel like for me. That's me. That's my personal opinion. Um I would rank it pretty high. I think it was a pretty great episode. I think we made like some strides. We got Kalnaka. He's now dead. So 3 out of the 4 of her mission are dead, which is like a bummer. I'm hoping we're gonna get more of him in like a flashback because that
well,
was
there's
really
trailers of him fighting and things like that. So there's got to
yeah,
be another flashback episode or scenes or something.
yeah.
I'm hoping. I feel like we've seen that in the trailer, so we'll see.
Well, I think he fights Torben, and that's how he gets the scar or whatever. But I don't know. I was kind of like, oh, like he's already out, so I didn't like that aspect of it. But I'm sure we're gonna get more of him in like a flashback type situation when we see the other side of it. But I mean, overall, I thought it was cool. I think the story is progressing. I think it's not going the way that we all predicted. I think next episode we're gonna get like a pretty big fight. I don't think we're gonna get like a reveal per se of who the character is or who the acolyte, whoever the guy person in the mask is. But I don't know. I'm kind of just along for the ride, I feel like.
Awesome. That's probably the best way to have it. Just be along for
Yeah.
the ride and enjoy. What about you, Alina? How'd you feel about the episode overall? Do you have any, earth shattering thoughts on who's in the mask? Is it,
I mean, it could be whoever. I really enjoyed this episode. It's definitely, I mean, we've only had 4 so far, but it's definitely like one of my favorites. Yeah, I personally actually did like the fact that Kamaka was killed off. It's gonna sound really bad, but I kind of feel like it adds again urgency, it adds mystery, and I feel like yes, we're definitely gonna have more of him because there's no way we're not gonna have more of him. And I just kind of feel like how abrupt this all happened. We thought something was gonna happen, it didn't happen, something else completely happened. I just feel like it just added to like our like excitement.
yeah.
So yeah, so I'm really excited to see
I
where
think
it
it
goes.
also builds terror for the acolyte. Like if he was able to get in there and slice up that Wookiee, and if it is Chimera how did he do it? If it's not, he was there that whole time. He went in there, handled a Wookiee, got out of there, and is not afraid to face, was there like 7 or 8 Jedi? I mean, we have not
Yeah.
seen that. We've seen Vader crushing fools, but he's fighting people that aren't, so to be that confident that you're going to fight that many Jedi, and I think most of them are masters probably, and Ward's not all that, but yeah, really enjoyed this episode. I'm kind of excited for the fact that no one has seen past this episode. So there's no anything here online. It's all going to be, nonsense until we actually get to see it. So maybe some of the discourse. I'm done with it, but I want to thank you guys for joining us. Joining me, I guess. Jack's not here. It's like 3:00 in the morning for him, so he's not going to join us until the finale. But thank you guys for coming on. Lex, go ahead and one more time tell everybody where they can find you, and then Alina will go, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so it's either Jedi.Lex or _Lex on TikTok, YouTube, pretty much everything. And I kind of just do all things Star Wars conventions, unboxings, reaction videos. I've got my 2 podcasts that I'm on. So try to keep it light and fun and just all about Star Wars.
Yeah, as it should be.
Sure.
All right. Alina, about you?
You can find me on Instagram at the _phantom_meme_ace. I post a lot of things. I love sharing my love of Star Wars with the community. I do a lot of lightsaber spinning, unboxing. I do a lot of promo for different amazing companies. And also, just quick note, I've been working on a little, not like a fan film, but just a really short video that kind of gives off like High Republic-esque vibes. So I'm really excited for that. I filmed that in my backyard. So it surprisingly, I think in 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, yeah. But I'll be posting like behind the scenes stuff and photos and whatnot. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be on here, and I love talking about Star Wars. So yeah.
Well, we love having you guys on. Again, I can't thank you guys both enough. I hope we get a week of maybe a little bit calmer. There wasn't a whole lot in this episode, I think, to make everybody angry, but I'm sure they'll find something that we didn't see because we're not angry fans. But again, thank you guys. We usually always end with a quote. So you guys have a quote that you like from Star Wars? Lex, I'll let you go.
May the Force be with you.
There you go. Classic. Alina, you can use the same one if you want.
Jesus. Yeah, may the Force be with you too. Sorry, I'm really basic. I'm just not braining right now.
There it is. All right, guys. And for all of us, we have spoken. Thanks again, both of you.